I'm Damian Holbrook from TV Guide Magazine, and I'm coming to you from Comic-Con in the Hollywood-branded, unbranded lounge, and I am with the cast of AMC's upcoming adaptation of Interview with a Vampire, which I am so excited about because it's really good. And I have some of the vampires, and I also have the interviewer. So first, I'm going to talk to Eric first. Your character, this is not a reboot. This isn't a reimagining. This is almost a continuation of it. How aware of the property were you?
Oh, well, I mean, I read the book when it came out in the 70s, and I loved it. I read it cover to cover, I think, in 2 nights, and big fan of vampires. And, you know, when they called me for it, it was like I had just been thinking the day before, I want to be in a vampire thing. And then the phone call came the next day. So,
There we go.
yeah.
All right, and now we've got our vampires. Jacob, I got to tell you, there's something languid about your Louis. There's like, it's almost like he's almost just waking up.
Yeah.
You know, like physically, like just, but this version of him, he has evolved since the last time we've seen an incarnation of him. He is a different kind of vampire. And at one point he even mentions something about how he feels about himself as a vampire. What kind of leeway were you given to work with this character that is already so embedded in the literature?
Well, I think a big part of it was trying to figure out how somebody that has been alive for a century, like what are all the influences they're bringing in? How many books have they read? How many seminars have they watched? Like how much YouTube has Louis watched at this point? And yeah, trying to figure out how that manifests in articulation and intelligence. And I think that our Louis, as we meet him in the modern day, is he's kind of at the peak of his knowledge, and that I don't know how much I'm supposed to say. We're very new at this.
We're not spoiling anything. All right.
Yeah.
So, and now you and Sam are, you know, Lestat is an iconic character, obviously. The level of intimacy that you two have to establish early on is really impressive. I mean, it is. These two are connected immediately. What was it like? How did you know each other? Did you get to spend time like hanging out before you got to be these immortal, entwined characters?
What did we do? We had like one FaceTime call.
Yeah, we had a FaceTime call, and then we were texting. We texted a lot.
Okay.
So we got to know each other via text. Yeah.
Right.
Me and Sam talk to each other every day, by the way.
Of course, yes.
Couldn't cut
and
the
in
cord.
various forms, and I gotta tell you, like, I'm loving the queer leaning. Like, it's not even a leaning. Like, they absolutely embrace that, like, these guys are lovers. And now, Bailey, you come in as Claudia. What is her take on these two men?
It's really complicated because Lestat turns Claudia into a vampire, but then Louis was the one that brought her to Lestat saying, please turn her. And what's interesting is each episode, you don't really know. It's like, who's the villain, who's not, who's the good guy, because it changes, because our dynamic is so complex. It changes in every episode, and you're really on the edge of your seat while you're watching it.
And it is, you're right, like, even in the first 2 episodes, there's a point where you're like, oh, do I feel bad for this person who's a killer?
Yeah. We have real emotions that are really human-like, even though we drink blood all the time.
Right. Well, and you come back into this world. This is like bizarre reunion that we get, and you guys have these incredible moments of like reconnection and revisiting a story that has been told. But we get so much more out of what your character has been through since we last saw him.
Yeah, it's a lot because the guy is in my own world. As a writer, I'm very ambitious, and I've had my highs, and now I'm actually down in a sort of a low point, and this is a story that I want. And so I have an appetite too. But I'm scared. I mean, being around this guy, he could eat me at any moment. And that is, so there's like my ambition versus the fear, that stuff goes back and forth. And then our ancient history, which gets re-talked about constantly in the thing.
And also, like, Louis knows all of this stuff and kind of uses it, and they have kind of this game with each other where it's like, they're very familiar, but also
Well, that's what I was wondering early on. I'm like, how has he been keeping tabs on this guy ever since San Francisco?
I'd say so.
Yeah. So, and obviously you guys do need to live on blood. Have they, in this universe, like, would they rebrand blood? Have vampires figured out a way to, like, make blood, like, a commodity? Like, what would your brand of blood be?
You can't sell blood because it has to be straight from the source. So it has to be very fresh. So you'd have to be selling the victims. And I suppose, you know, we'd be selling bad guys because, you know.
Okay. So not like farmer to table, but like.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah,
comes
you-
in the. That's
That
in the.
might be a that might be a spoiler. Yeah.
We can't say that, but there's some farm to table moments in the show.
Very elaborate.
Right? Nice, nice. And talk about elaborate. I have to wrap you guys, but the detail. I mean, Anne Rice's novel is filled with so many gorgeous details, and the show has captured so much of that. The visuals of New Orleans and just like the cultural stuff that they cover in the first episodes is fascinating because it's almost things that we never got to see enacted on screen before. So you guys are like, I cannot tell you how excited I am for the show. So you guys do not miss Interview with the Vampire on AMC. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.